me, beings of Akir. I am Sator of the Mount Mori. I have come with my forces to conquer you. If you resist, I will crush you. I possess a stellar converter, the most powerful weapon in the universe. You cannot resist me.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Cheapseat Reviews, the podcast that explores the Hollywood film industry for the greater good.
The greater good.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. I started to say for the greater good, but that's a different Star movie.
That's a different movie. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a different movie all together. But
yeah,
that would have been pretty funny. I think now I gotta play it. Do I have that movie? I have to have it.
You don't understand. We were sent to free you. Your sentence has been canceled.
Have you both gone mad?
I only have logic and emotion circuits. No room for craziness. We all have been assigned to a top secret Imperial mission. We must now leave and set acting free.
Oh, man.
Can't keep a good robot down.
That's right. You really...
Yeah.
You can't keep a good robot down.
That's right. That is right. Oh, my gosh. But unfortunately, this is not Star Crash. Or maybe fortunately. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. This is episode 478, and this is episode 2, or week 2, I should say, of our Star Wars adjacent films. Sorry, this episode's a little late, but Mother's Day and other things. It was a busy week.
Yeah,
but we are doing Battle Beyond the Stars. That's right, Battle Beyond the Stars, and it was boy, this movie is a movie, right? I mean, it's just so it's 1980, directed by Jimmy T. Murakami and Roger Corman, and has George Papard, Robert Vaughn, Richard Thomas. I mean, there's some actually pretty decent names in this film for the time, and my God, this movie is just a work of something. So, but I'm looking forward to talking about it. So I am your host, Sean, the most boring space battle since Star Crash, all red. And of course, joining me is Andrew Bourbon Gun Belt Jimison.
Yeah, I kind of want one of those belts.
It doesn't feel like it would hold very much liquor. It just
unless the entire belt is hollow, and then the liquid goes all the way around his waist.
Yeah, but
even then,
the ice part is a little confusing. Is it a freezer, or is it an actual ice maker?
Well, what if it's an ice maker that just pulls moisture from the air? See, that's kind of futuristic.
It is futuristic. We don't know anything about it other than the fact that he has a belt that holds bourbon.
It's basically a wet bar on his crotch.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, a wet bar on his crotch. But if that's not the name of the episode, I don't know what will be. We'll see how it goes. No Sam this week, and actually I will say this. It's going to be no Sam for a while. Things in life sometimes take precedent over podcasting. I know it's hard to believe, but it does happen. And he just is unavailable for the next little while. So we wish him the best, and we wish him well. But it's just going to be Andrew and I for a little while, and we'll have some fun guests coming on every now and then.
Contrary to popular belief, he's not in a nursing home yet.
No, he's not.
He just has life things.
He hasn't been arrested for all those years of threatening me with violence and murder. He's just got some life stuff going on. But so we're gonna soldier on without him, and we're gonna talk about this movie, Battle Beyond the Stars. And first, we must learn what this movie is all about. So, Andrew, take it away.
All right. A farm boy recruits a band of outlaws to save the planet Akir from forces that threaten to wipe them out from the face of the universe. A battle stretching beyond the stars begins here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I got a little hesitated as I read there because I don't remember the name Akir or Akir or however
Akiri.
they say it.
Yeah.
Akiri? Is that how they say it?
Akir. I think it is Akir. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
the
mean,
name.
after watching the movie, I don't remember that. I don't know if that tells you how interesting the movie is or how forgettable the movie is. Forgettable, I guess you could say. Parts of the movie are. Yeah. Okay. So that's it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that'll be on the stars. Boy. So I'm looking forward to talking about this movie for several reasons. Because one, there's some really interesting trivia about the movie that I did write down, and also we're going to talk about it a lot, I feel like, on this episode. But this is one of those movies where we've talked about this before, where sometimes the film score outmatches the movie itself. And I feel like this is like, if
This
you were
might be
to
one of
say-
those times.
No, this isn't might be one of those times. This is the example
Yeah.
that you use. You know, when someone you're talking about film scores and someone says, you ever have a movie where the film score is so much better than the movie? Yes, it's called Battle Beyond the Stars. This is the example. And we're going to talk about more of the film score later, and some of the clips that I have are going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to also play a little game called, well, it's not really a game, but it's just there's something this movie has almost as much Star Trek connections as it does Star Wars connections. So
Yeah.
But we'll get there in a second. But first, we're going to do our 5-word reviews. So take it away, Andrew.
Well, it's funny that you should say that it has some Star Trek connections because I didn't want to write a 5-word review this time. I just wrote a little blurb, and it's much more than 5 words. So this makes up for all the times that I just had a 4-word or a 3-word review. I'm taking all those leftover words and putting them together.
All right.
It's like if Start over. It's like if a Star Trek fan, a Doctor Who fan, and a Star Wars fan all got together and decided to make a movie in their basement and then paid their friend a shit ton of money, who was a great composer, to put some good music with it.
Yeah. I
That's my
you know
review.
What? I need you to send that to me because I'll put that in the blurb in the show notes for the show. That's hysterical.
I mean, that's what as I watched this, I thought, man, parts of this really feel like Star Trek. And then I thought, wow, wait a minute. This is very much Doctor Who. And then Star Wars is in there as well. And I think that they wanted that Star Wars feel, especially since this came out in the 80s, like 1980, right? They wanted the Star Wars thing. But after seeing Star Wars, A New Hope, which is what, 77?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
There's no comparison.
No.
Star Wars is a much better film. There's a lot that is not bad in this movie, but there's a lot that is way bad in this movie. The space scenes, the flight, the spaceships flying, that kind of stuff. It's bad. It looks like something that somebody made. That's why I said it in their basement. It just feels. I mean, I'm sure it's better than what I could do in the 80s, or could have done in the 90s. But I think now with the technology that exists, I could do this or something of a better quality on a computer and make it look great with zero money. So, I mean, technology's come a long way, but this movie looks terrible visually.
It does look terrible. It's yes, it does look terrible. And it's not just that the ships look bad, that they look like just plastic cutouts, and that they have no weight and they have no size.
Right.
But they're also just lit poorly. You can't
Yeah.
see what they look like. I mean, I understand space is dark, but like
But they're also
can't-
like blurry in some
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, they're out of focus. The one thing that I was talking to my son about this movie, because he was asking about it, and I told him, I said, you could have watched this with us, but good Lord, it was boring. But I said the one thing that Star Wars does so well that this one doesn't, because they're both, again, so I didn't realize it going into it. This is another Seven Samurai movie.
Mhm. Yeah.
This is, I mean, this is another samurai. So it's another Kurosawa film, basically. And so it's, similar to Star Wars in that way. They just do a way where it doesn't help also that we just came off of Rebel Moon, which is a
Right.
Seven Samurai film, which looks incredible. It looks great.
Yeah.
Our issues with that movie certainly weren't visual.
No, it
most
was a
of my
beautiful movie.
issues with this movie are the visuals. The visuals are terrible. The ships are clearly just on a platform,
Right.
and the camera is just attached to that platform, and the background is moving.
Mhm.
There's very little movement in the space. These ships don't feel like,
There's no depth either.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's just yeah, exactly. There's no depth. The ships never come. I mean, when they come towards the camera, you can clearly tell that the camera is just being pushed towards them.
Or that it's zooming in. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's awful. And all right, let me do my 5-word reviews, and then
Okay.
because I did write down some. I wrote down 3. First is worst Seven Samurai I've seen, because we've seen
Okay.
this version several times, and this is by far the worst.
Yes.
Number 2, Confederate flag in space.
Yeah. That was one of my notes. I wrote down rednecks in space ?
Yeah, that threw me off so much, because as soon as you saw it, you're like, wait a minute. And then he mentions multiple times that he's from Earth and he's the cowboy and all that stuff. Okay, fine. Earth exists in this world of aliens and stuff, which is fine because we have Star Trek and whatever. But the fact that he really is just a cowboy with the bourbon and the drinking and the smoking cigarettes and the Confederate flag on the outside of a ship was just ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Like
that part of it, it almost felt like a spoof.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, Star Wars was a space western, so we need to like really western it up here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And my last one was, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to say it. Star Crash was more fun.
Yes.
I mean,
100%.
Because Star Crash is ridiculous, and it's easy to laugh at it.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I don't know. And maybe I don't know. As I'm reading the trivia, so one of the pieces of trivia that I captured, I'm actually rereading it, and I realized that when I captured it, because I captured it right after watching the movie.
Yeah.
So I misread part of the trivia. So rereading it now, it actually makes more sense. And this is the trivia. New World Pictures was known for low-budget adventure movies. So just reading that first sentence makes me think this movie is designed to look like this. This movie is not trying to compete with Star Wars. It's supposed to be kind of low-budget bad.
But it's low budget real bad.
Yeah, it's not like it's the trauma of the 80s,
Right.
but it's something like that. Continuing on, when Star Wars Episode 4 comes out in 1977, was released and set a new standard, Roger Corman realized that he had to up his game. Production for this film cost $2 million. making it a new world's most expensive feature film at the time. Most of the budget was spent on the salaries of Robert Vaughn and George Peppard. Corman approached several companies to do the special effects, but none would do it for less than $2 million. Corman then decided to create his own in-house special effects department, which would employ a young James Cameron.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I haven't looked at any of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So knowing that this film was $2 million and most of it went to the salaries of these guys, so they're talking about they probably had to do the production was probably, you know, let's say $1 million.
Right.
It shows.
Yeah.
You know, like it shows. And it's one of those things where I kind of wish I had known that going into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I'd have known this is not supposed to look good, this is going to be kind of dumb and cheesy, and you're just along for kind of the ridiculous adventure that it is.
I mean, honestly, there were parts of it that as I watched it, I thought, I have seen similar, if not better, you know, like props and things in high school plays and high school musicals.
Yeah. Because
some of the costumes, like I'm looking at the headpiece right now of Saint Eczema or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like something that could have been made for a high school play.
Yeah.
With just, you know, spray painted with some glitter on it.
You're not wrong. It's not wrong. Yeah, the ships look terrible. The other thing that annoyed me so let's, you know, the ships look terrible, fine. The hero ship looks like my wife said it looks like a nutsack.
Well, it has boobs.
Yeah, well, she said that they kind of look like they look like boy parts. And then when she said that in front of my son, he was like, "Oh my gosh," because it's red. I mean, it kind of looks like a weird scrotum. I'm just gonna say it. And
honestly, when I saw that ship the first time, I thought it's flying backwards. Like it made more sense. It looked like a ship the other way.
Yeah,
it kind of looked like one of those pissed off snails.
It pissed off. It's a good. It kind of reminded me of the alien from Star Wars that's in the cantina. That's got like the big wide head, and then it kind of his neck kind of curves back.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks like that. It's a weird looking ship for your hero ship. It's very weird looking, and to have the guns come out of the eyes or whatever, it's very strange. And to have it talk and have the ship literally be a character in the movie, again, a strange choice.
Yeah, and I forgot halfway through the movie that the ship talked, and it's like the last 20 minutes or something, last 30 minutes, she starts talking again, and then she forgets who she is and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, who else is in the ship with them?
Yeah.
And I realized it was the ship that they're talking to.
It was the ship, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a weird, but some of the other choices that really annoyed me that have nothing to do with budget and everything to do with just weird decision making was so Princess Eczema, as you mentioned, whatever her name was, right? She's kind of like a Klingon, right? She's there for a glorious death, right? She was like a female Klingon, in my opinion. Her ship design is so weird that every time you see her, she's basically laying backwards in her cockpit. Like she has to look like
it had to be so uncomfortable for her.
Oh, absolutely.
As an actress.
She's looking down past her boobs, which had to be fake. I mean, prosthetic. I don't mean just fake. I mean, they didn't.
Well, yeah.
I mean, even my wife was like, "Those boobs aren't real. Like those look prosthetic." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, they don't match the skin tone of the rest of her body."
They have to be, because if you look at her costume design, you would see a lot of nipple.
Yeah.
And you don't. So,
yeah.
But if you're listening, here's what you need to do to figure out how this looked. go lay down on your bed, and then try to, pretend you're driving your car with your feet, but don't move your head.
Well, you have to prop your head up on a pillow, right? She had
Just
a little
barely, though.
Yeah, just put your pillow down and then kind of prop it up. Yeah. And then pretend to drive a flying vehicle that way. And it was so uncomfortable. Oh my gosh. And so hers was awful. Then you had the drones. They keep calling them drones, but there's people in them. So that was confusing. But I don't know if you saw, like, when they would shoot, it's simple things like this, that instead of having the like triggers on the steering wheels or the steering whatever, he reaches across his body with his right hand and he hits a keyboard, like a QWERTY keyboard.
Yeah.
Like he's hitting enter across his body to fire the lasers, and he's doing it with such vibrato. He's like boom. He's like moving his hand. It's very, very visual. I apologize for the listeners.
Alt shift fire.
It's so ridiculous. And then the cowboy ship was the most ridiculous of all of these ridiculous ships, and they're all pretty ridiculous.
Yes.
The cowboy is sitting in this ship. The exterior design is actually not bad. It's kind of a sphere with 4 legs in the back.
Yeah.
So he's sitting in his cockpit, right? And there's panels everywhere, and they look like old mixing consoles and patch panels, like phone patch panels, right? And the stick, right, to fly the ship comes from the ceiling, not between his legs. So because it comes from above him, he has to hold his hands kind of up by his face, and he has to hunch under it to look at the view screen, which is this 12-inch square monitor that he's looking through. And then in order to fire his gun, he has to pull on what it looks like a CB radio controller. So he doesn't even have 2 hands on the stick to fire. It was, oh my God.
And his controller, like, was about the size of a typical Nintendo Switch now, like controllers,
very small.
It was so tiny compared to the rest of the ship. Yeah, and then we had the lizard looking guy. That his ship had like a mouth of a frog. I can't even explain, or it looked like an open bag of chips just flying at you.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, open bag of chips. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And he didn't even have controls. He was just like moving his hands back and forth in front of stuff.
But
like
at least
there was no what?
At least he wasn't controlling it with one of those electro balls.
That you get at the science fair.
Yeah. I don't know what those are called, but
yeah, like those plasma balls where you touch it and like a little plasma thing comes up to touch your skin. Yeah,
because that's apparently how we raise and lower shields.
Oh my God,
plasma ball.
It's all dumb. All of the ships were dumb, and the other part that again has nothing to do with budget was the fight scene at the end. The big fight scene at the end was so boring.
Yes. And
it also doesn't help that this weekend we watched Empire Strikes Back, because the previous weekend
I did too.
With May 4th, we watched Star Wars, A New Hope. And then this weekend we watched Empire Strikes Back. And so part of what makes like Star Wars good, and that the battle scene on the Death Star, is there's a lot of action happening with the ships, but the actors are constantly talking and telling us what's happening, right? All right, we're going in to start our bombing run, and then they show the ships going down. All right, we've got some TIE fighters coming in. You worry about the fighters, I'll worry about the thing. Like there's lots of, oh no, I've got one on my tail, come help me out. Like there's lots of chatter. But during this space battle, there was almost zero chatter. There was very little dialogue. The mercenary that they hired, who was really good at being a killer of things and whatever, he never had any lines or in his space battle. There's probably 6 or 7 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 film minutes of him just sitting in his cockpit looking at monitors. He doesn't move his head. He just looks around. He looks up. He looks to a side. Looks left, right. That's it. And then it shows his X-ray of his ship, and he shoots, and he blows up something, and then he has a small smile, and then he does nothing. It's so incredibly boring.
Yes.
Ugh,
Well, and I think another thing that makes this movie boring is the actors themselves are not great. I mean, they're very what's the word? Like one-dimensional, or is that what I'm trying to say?
Well, one-dimensional, meaning that they have one note.
Yeah.
Like the bad guy is just a bad guy. He's just an evil dude. You know, he has no depth. I guess our hero, whatever his name is,
Shad.
Shad. I mean, he kind of goes through a little bit of a character arc, you know, being this kind of naive kid to, by the end of the movie, he's willing to kill people and potentially have sex with the pretty girl.
Potentially. I couldn't look at him, though, without thinking about Uncle Buck. I know that's terrible. But you know the scene in Uncle Buck where he throws the quarter on the principal's desk.
I have not seen Uncle Buck.
You haven't seen Uncle Buck?
I know.
Oh my God, that needs to be added to our list pronto.
I know.
Well, he throws a quarter on the principal's desk, and she has a mole on her face. And he says, "Why don't you go find a rat to chew that off? Here's 25 cents," or something like that.
Oh, jeez.
And I know that's terrible. I know I shouldn't be that way, but
it's fine.
It was very distracting.
Yeah,
because he has a very big mole on the side of his face. But again, I know that's neither here nor there as far as the actor is concerned. I didn't care about any of these people at all, even him.
Yeah,
I didn't care about any actor in the movie, or any character in the movie, I guess. Robert Vaughn, who I thought was probably the biggest name in the movie.
Yeah.
He was especially, maybe John Saxon. I mean, they're both pretty big. The guy that played Hodor. That's a Game of Thrones reference. But Robert Vaughn's character, he got on my nerves. He just felt like a crotchety old man that was kind of forced to be in the movie. He acted like he didn't want to be there. It was like a paycheck for him, and he didn't really care about it. That's how
it is. It is funny that he was also in the original Magnificent Seven. So, like, that's funny that he had to do another Magnificent Seven movie,
right?
And maybe that's why they picked him up.
Maybe so.
Like maybe that's why he was in this movie. But yeah.
So, can we talk about for a minute Nestor, the Q-tip heads?
Mm-hmm.
That quite possibly is the worst costume design I've ever seen in any movie ever.
Pretty close, yeah.
Because we have the three eyes and the one eye in the middle of the forehead that is like, I don't know, painted uber white. It's probably the same paint that found out years later caused cancer.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's reflective or something. And then they had like a pantyhose around their face or something, and crap shoved up on their heads. I don't know if there was supposed their skin was painted white, so I can't tell if we're supposed to, as the audience, believe that sock on their head is a part of their face, or if that's part of their costume, or part of their garb. But it's quite possibly the worst, if not the worst, costume I've ever seen in film.
Okay. Yeah,
I stand by that.
Yeah, the whole hive mind thing with them was also really strange. I kind of liked the idea that they let one of their minions get captured so that they could potentially use his arm to kill the bad guy. I thought that was kind of interesting, but it also super annoyed me when they do the bit of them gets a piece of food and he bites it, and then the rest are chewing now. That was really annoying. It's like, wait a minute, like did the food transfer, or do they just have to mimic the motion of chewing?
And you would think that they could have rehearsed that a little better so that they're chewing at the same time. Because that bothered me the most, is the guy in the front took a bite and then it was all random chews.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to be annoyed by in this.
Yeah. John Saxon, who you mentioned, Sador, we saw him on Nightmare on Elm Street. So we've seen him before.
And I feel like he was probably capable of being a great bad guy, a great villain.
Mm-hmm.
But he was limited by maybe the script and the movie in general and the budget, because I feel like he had more to give that he just didn't. Maybe that's just me. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just this movie it's just so weird and bad and
yeah.
Though that first Nestor you just mentioned, I just realized we know him from the Terminator movies. He's the doctor.
Yeah.
That's cool. So,
is he the one that has the speaking lines?
He's the dude that freaking licks Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
In the second one.
Oh, yeah, I know. But I'm saying in this movie, is he the one that's speaking?
Yeah, he's the primary. He's Nestor 1.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, the makeup obviously was really good because I couldn't tell that was him.
If you want something real fun to look at, Andrew, go to IMDb, the cast page, and scroll down to Steve Davis, who played one of the bad guy henchmen, Quopeg.
Yeah,
that's anyone listening, go do that. IMDb, Battle Beyond the Stars. Go to your cast list and scroll down to Steve Davis. You won't be disappointed.
I can't see him here. I can't find it. Oh, here we go. Oh. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Good for him.
Is he the chunky guy with the one eye and the scar?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he looked like that?
Yeah.
That can't be his real body. His head's not even on.
I don't know. I don't tell you.
That's just a torso.
Maybe the doctor hadn't put it on yet. I don't know.
Because that was a very plump man. Or either he was wearing some sort of body suit.
He could have been wearing a bodysuit. I don't know. Just this movie was kind of, it was also a little confusing, and it also didn't help that I fell asleep at some point during the movie. And I had to stop it and like rewind it. I think at one point Sarah and I both were like, we have to get up and start walking around. We're both falling asleep watching this movie. So like when the lizard men captured the girl, I was confused because the next time I saw them on camera, they were like the good guys. And I thought, wait a minute. I looked at my wife and said, what did I miss? And she said, I don't know. I fell asleep too. So I had to go back and watch that whole scene. I was so confused as to why they were helping.
Yeah.
So, all right. So a couple of the notes that I wrote down, other than the fact that, my first note was, yikes, they just disappeared them. That always freaks me out in sci-fi movies when you just get disappeared.
Right.
Like you don't get killed. You just get disappeared. I wrote that table looks like the kids' table at McDonald's. So if you remember,
yes, it does.
So if you've been at McDonald's in the last 2 or 3 years, they now have these tables where the kids can sit at, and they have like games built into the table, but it's got this big clear plexiglass to keep it from when Junior spills his Coke, it doesn't mess up the internal electronics of the. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a McDonald's table. Oh man, I'm glad you saw that
with
too.
Actual McDonald's toys sitting on top of it.
Yeah, the props are about the same.
Yeah.
I did write, this kind of sounds like fanfare for the common man. There was a couple moments that I had that kind of feel. The ship is weird. The ship is poorly lit and it's hard to see in it.
The ship it's not just weird, it was creepy. Like
Yeah.
at one point, I think it was the very first couple of lines that the ship said, I thought, man, that's creepy dialogue. Like who wrote that? Because it just I don't even remember what it was now, but it was I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird. Let's see. Our second film to be a Seven Samurai remake. Let's see. He's a redneck, really, still flying the battle flag of Tennessee. Just that cracked me up. And then I wrote, the poor woman gets kidnapped, raped by thugs, and then blown up by the good guys.
Right.
I feel bad for her. And at no point, there's no there was no repercussions of that. There was no, when they go down to their planet and they're like, oh my God, thank God. Hey, have you seen such and such? Who? She was kidnapped by the people that were in orbit. Oh no, we killed them. You know, like there's no moral recourse from that.
Right.
You know, that would have been kind of interesting to explore, because the main kid had the really, just the killing was like a really hard thing for him throughout the whole movie.
I did feel bad for that lady, because she got blown up with the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like, let's not try to attempt to save her. Let's just blow up the ship, and too bad that she's on there.
And I mean, and of course they don't know that she's on there, but still it's like,
right.
You know, scan for life signs. Oh, there's 2 of these weird things and an Akira or whatever they're called. Oh, we should make it, you know, just nope, she's just dead. On the ground battle, so this movie has a space battle and a ground assault, which they use some kind of crystal to make their Earth shape so they can have trenches and hallways to make the fighting, I guess, easier for them. I don't know. One of those extras looked like freaking Weird Al. I mean, he had the curly hair and he had a mustache, and he never looked at the camera. Like his head, he never had his head up, not looking into the camera, but like his face was never up. I kept thinking, did Weird Al just have like an overdue water bill that he needed to pay for? Like, what was I legit thought it was Weird Al for the whole time.
It could have been.
I don't think it is, but it's still. Even the blind guy walks into battle for some reason. That was really dumb. And he dies because, of course, unless you're the blind guy from Star Wars Rogue One, going into battle is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Same. She crashes her ship to kill herself to take out some drones. Again, I mentioned the whatever her name is, the princess. What's her face? Just the simple thing like triggers for lasers are dumb. And then I wrote, most of the crew are dead. So like of the 7 samurai, like most of them die.
Right.
I mean, the hero and the
again,
cowboy.
I think they do that to try to get some emotion out of you as the audience, but I didn't care. I didn't like them enough to care about them dying.
Yeah. No, I didn't either. But I do want to mention one of the things that I did like. So here's a piece of trivia that we've talked about the sound. I mentioned the soundtrack already, so I'm going to talk about it some more. So James Horner did the soundtrack to this movie. This was his first feature film ever.
Huh.
Not only are the effects reused in the 1983 movie Space Raiders, but James Horner's entire score is used as well. It would later be lifted for another film called Wizards of the Lost Kingdom in 1985. When Horner was being considered to write the score for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, he provided Paramount executives with a tape of the soundtrack from this movie, which so impressed the executives that they hired Horner on the spot. Now, I watched this movie, listened to the soundtrack. It's very, very similar to Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan. So I message our good friend Eric, Eric Woods from Cinematic Sound Radio. Holy cow, Battle Beyond the Stars soundtrack. Like, that's all I wrote. Okay. And of course he has this, just treasure trove of information to send back to me. And I should have had this pulled up in preparation for this conversation.
Well, as you're pulling it up, I sent a message to you guys as soon as I saw on the screen James Horner. And I said, holy cow, James Horner in this movie? And I didn't realize this was his first feature-length film.
Yeah.
But to hear that they used this exact soundtrack in 2 other movies is kind of interesting.
So sorry,
go
go ahead. Okay, so I make the comment that so I said, let's see. Hey man, hope you're doing all right. No, that's not what I said. I said, what did I say? Oh my God, it's amazing how much Horner borrowed from his own work from Battle Beyond the Stars for Star Trek Wrath of Khan. And he said, oh yeah, you should really dive into his early work because almost everything that made Horner is in there. All of his little things that make Horner Horner. And I said, yeah, so many moments where it felt like Star Trek, and also borrowed from themes and moments from Star Trek the Motion Picture. And he says, yeah, Horner was a big fan of Jerry Goldsmith's arrangement for Star Trek the Motion Picture. He was at the recording session, hence the use of the blaster beam. And I'm going to play a clip of what that is.
Huh.
Nicholas Meyer, who was the director of Wrath of Khan, actually hired Horner for Khan because he had heard the Battle Beyond the Stars score and loved it. So that kind of corroborates what I just said from the trivia.
Right.
So, and I said, that's awesome. Thanks. I'll mention that in the episode. And then he asked me some more stuff, and then we kind of go from there. But anyway, the point being is that Horner borrows from himself for Star Trek Wrath of Khan, but even in this movie, he borrows from Star Trek also. So that blaster beam I mentioned. All right, so I'll get to that in a second. So I mentioned the special effects and all that stuff. So next piece of trivia I wanted to mention was this. Alan Howarth created different sound effects for each of the 7 starships. You reused several synth effects that he had created for Star Trek the Motion Picture. He also composed and recorded the music that is heard on the jukebox in Gelt's chamber. So that's kind of fun.
Huh.
All right.
And Gelt is the cowboy guy, right?
Yeah. I think so. Maybe. Actually, no, because the cowboy was just called Cowboy. Who was Gelt? Oh, Gelt was Robert Vaughn. He was the.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. James Horner's score for this film was also used in the trailer for Roger Corman's unreleased film version of the Fantastic Four, which was going to be released in 1994.
Uh-huh.
The soundtrack was reused in the 83. I mentioned that. In 1885's The Lost Kingdom and Space Raiders, which were also produced by Roger Corman. Both of these other films also reused footage from Battle Beyond the Stars, one of Corman's cost-cutting trademarks when additional footage is needed. So not only did they reuse the score in 2 other of his films, but also scenes from this movie.
Yeah.
So I kind of it makes me almost want to watch those other ones just so I can see those moments, but also no. So, all right. So with all that having been said, I'm going to play some clips, and that's going to lead me back to the blaster beam because I want to make sure people understand what I mean by the blaster beam. So here's my first one. Here's a little. I made this. It's a joke that I say that it's a Star Wars reference because they say hello there. But here you go.
We got visitors. Hello there. Welcome to the outer atmosphere of the planet Akir.
Akir. Yeah. All right. So I captured that for a couple of reasons. One, the hello there. I thought that was funny. Just again, because that's what the first words that Obi-Wan Kenobi says is "Hello there." You know, we get that.
Right.
But the beginning part of that clip is that blaster beam. So, not obviously you got the guys like raking the cymbal, right? You got that sound, but that kind of sound in the background is that blaster beam. We hear that in Star Trek: The Motion Picture when the Klingons are attacking the V'ger thing.
Huh.
Sound there?
Yeah.
So you get that blaster beam. So I thought that was cool that it was kind of Horner's way of paying homage to Goldsmith or paying respect to him by using the same instrument. I thought that was cool. All right.
That is cool.
Here's some of those Trek noises that I mentioned earlier in the trivia.
I know that, Nell. Do my best not to let you down.
I don't know if you heard that. I'm going to play it one more time.
I know that, Nell.
That noise there, they used that when they were getting ready to fire photon torpedoes in the original 67, 66 Trek.
Yeah.
I do my best.
Yep. That was the sound of the torpedoes firing from inside the ship. Now they had a different sound outside the ship.
Right.
Lock phasers and fire torpedoes. There you go. All right, here's where we get to meet the cowboy.
I'm a poor cowboy. You know I've done wrong.
This is Space Cowboy. SOS.
Mayday. Help!
Like, I can't tell if he knows. Like, what does that help? Like, he's
right.
Help! I don't know if it's supposed to be funny or not.
I get that he's cowboy or space cowboy, but and maybe that's a call sign and not a name. But I thought about it when he was on screen about how we have Luke Skywalker, like we have a name, Luke, and yeah, Skywalker is kind of a cowboy last name. But if he were to come on screen and say, "Hey, I'm cowboy," you would think, no, you're not. Your cowboy is a thing.
Yeah.
Your name is not cowboy.
Yeah. My name is Bob Newhart, but call me the cowboy.
Right.
Yeah. Fine. Yeah. Also, you and I are old enough, and if anyone's listening that isn't old enough to recognize the sound of someone needs to hang the phone up.
Oh, I'm a poor cowboy. You know I've done wrong.
Just hang up.
I heard that and I thought, why? There are so many other things that you can use and so many other sounds. Why choose that one?
Yeah. Yeah. Because they couldn't afford to. I kind of like this dialogue between the kid and Robert Vaughn.
I'm sorry I've wasted your time.
No. Wait. Listen to the rest of it. I sleep with my back to the wall. When I can sleep. I eat serpents 7 times a week. It's not a major city in this galaxy where I can show my face or spend my wealth. Right now, your offer looks very attractive to me. A meal and a place to hide.
I don't know why I liked their dialogue. They're kind of back and forth. It felt so different than the rest of the movie because it was just kind of chill and calm, and he's just delivering lines. And I don't know, the movie feels like it's trying to be frantic and like exciting, and it was nice to just have a conversation between two people. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it was one of the few times when someone's delivering dialogue where I wasn't annoyed.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I hated the dripping noises in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, this guy is super rich, but he can't get a plumber out there to fix whatever the hell's going on.
Right.
I just, in case you weren't, in case it wasn't clear enough that this movie was a remake of The Seven Samurai.
3, 5, 6, 7. Timbo, come on up here. I'm busy. Forget about her. Something's coming. What? Something's coming. 7 ships. What do you think we should do? Run away? Good idea.
Yeah, ran away. Okay. Yeah. This kind of made me chuckle and also not.
I've got some more surprises for any visitors.
What drink is that?
Scotch and soda.
Oh, I could do.
So I'm going to pause the clip there because there's still more to go. But I hate that dialogue because like he's just finished running the crystal thing that creates all the trenches and stuff. So he says, I got a few more surprises for more visitors, and then immediately goes into the drink. So it's like there's no cut there, so it makes it seem like that's what he's that's the surprise. If anyone else comes crawling around, I'll pour him a drink. It's so weird.
Well,
It's
I mean,
so
honestly, that was a bigger surprise than
anything else.
Anything else. Yeah.
And then you got the horny lady.
Do wonders for that boy. I would recharge his capacitors, stimulate his solenoid, tingle, dingle, dangle, prangle his transistors. You know, sex.
Like, did Dr. Seuss write that line? Like, what is happening?
It was very much like techno talk, techno babble.
Yeah.
You know, like capacitors is not even a word.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 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 Okay. A few more. We're almost out of the woods here.
Well, remember the Alamo?
You forgot the ice and soda.
No, I didn't.
Just drinks and that was a big pour he did too. That was here's the alien, the green dudes.
This is Ken of the landing zone. Turn around, you overage degenerate, and we'll bump heads.
Such a dumb thing to say.
Yeah.
Oh, and for some reason I'm talking like that kid's toy, you know, where it's a microphone that's got the spring inside. It makes it sound like you're talking on a PA. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to deliver my lines through this thing. This is the last one.
So long, Zed.
How long?
9, 11, 13, 14. 15, 12, 9. 15, 16.
Sador of the Malmori, I command you to surrender.
I'll surrender, you sorry son of a mutant. 5, 4.
All right. I didn't realize that clip was 40 seconds long. I apologize. But
yeah, that was annoying.
Yeah, is it supposed to be funny that she's counting?
I think it's supposed to be, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that's how machines work. If machines are losing power, I don't think that they're gonna get numbers wrong. I just don't think that's how that works. But I guess it was funny. But it also reminded me of both editing and the music, specifically of when it's the final battle between Khan and Kirk. And we keep cutting back and forth between Kirk and Khan until the music changes, and You know, it builds and then drops and builds and drops, and there's a lot of that. And also, again, director choice. To have her do the "Sorry, Son of a Mutant" and then only get to 4, I feel like you've missed an opportunity. Let the voiceover carry 3, 2, 1, and then the explosion. It gives the explosion some more weight to it, because otherwise we're just waiting for this model to blow up.
Yeah,
they missed a moment there. It was again another chance to do something. All right, time for this.
And now for some more bad news. Ready?
Do we have a game this week? I don't know. I forgot to ask.
No, we don't, because it's just the two of us, and I was just annoyed at this movie, so I didn't make a game.
That's perfectly fine, and that's we're at an hour anyway, so that's perfectly fine. This movie, well, then I'll play this. This movie has a IMDb rating of like 5 something,
5.5.
Yeah. So let's give our scores. Oh, by the way, Sam did text me his opinion on this movie, by the way, because he did watch it.
Yeah.
I said, any notes you would like for me to share for Battle Beyond the Stars? It sucked. Bad beyond bad. That's all he wrote. So I guess his 5 words would be, it sucked bad beyond bad. There's your 5-word review from Sam.
Bad beyond the stars. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you give this film a score? Keeping in mind that last week Rebel Moon was a 4.
Yeah, I would watch Rebel Moon any day over this again. This is gonna have to be one of the lower ratings I think I've ever given. I'm gonna put this at like a 2.3 out of 10. I mean, I know that's low, but I think that's what this deserves.
And I think this movie is one of those kind of cult movies that people over the years, like Star Crash,
Yeah, but Star Crash, like you said, at least you can enjoy it. I think even by myself, I would have enjoyed it more than this. But especially watching it with a group,
yeah,
that one's more enjoyable for sure.
I think laughing at the robot and the stop motion ninja robot assassins and the giant Amazon throwing sword lady, like there's so much of Star Crash that's ridiculous that it makes it kind of fun. Whereas in this one, and maybe we're missing it. Maybe if people out there that are love this movie. And there's been a couple movies from the 80s that I watched that people revere, and I just didn't get until I gave it like a second chance. Like Buckaroo Banzai. Didn't really like it the first time. Seen some parts of it since then. It's like, okay, I kind of get the appeal, right? Like I kind of get the appeal.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that with this movie. There's just so much of this movie that just annoyed me. All it made me do was appreciate Star Wars more for what that movie was able to do. Now, that movie had a bigger budget, but, still. A 2.5 for me. No, I got to get a little bit higher. 2.65. That's mostly because of the James Horner score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The score was just perfectly fine. I feel like it was wasted on this movie.
Yeah. It's just one of those where you think, oh, I mean, James Horner, God rest his soul. It is we are in a time, or we grew up in a time, Andrew, you and I, where it was kind of like a golden age of film scores, right?
Yeah,
we're growing up. We're getting to watch John Williams, James Horner, Jerry Goldsmith,
Michael Kamen,
Michael Kamen, like flex their muscles in the 80s and 90s, and making way for Zimmer and John Powell and Giacchino.
Yeah.
But like those guys back in those 80s and 90s, man, they wrote some just banger scores.
They really did.
And yeah, and like I want to listen to this score away from this movie just to listen to it because I think it's really good. And
yeah,
of course it makes me want to watch Star Trek Wrath of Khan. But that's also a movie I could just watch.
Right, and enjoy.
So anyway, that's it. That's our show. That's episode 2 of our month-long Star Wars adjacent films. Next week, we will do a movie that I saw as a child and I have not seen since.
Oh.
So my memory of it is very probably askew of what it probably actually is. But that's the Disney's movie, The Black Hole.
Oh, I didn't realize it was Disney.
Yeah, Disney made this movie, The Black Hole. And
okay. Never seen it.
I remember very little from it. Black Hole. 1979 PG movie, an hour and 30 something minutes.
Yeah.
And it's
journey
got
that
some
begins where everything ends.
Yeah. It has some robots in this movie that were clearly inspired by R2-D2.
Yeah.
And one of them is voiced by Slim Pickens. Okay, so like that's where we are.
Oh, we got Ernest Borgnine in this movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's now I'm not wrong, right? It's this thing is a Disney film, right? Am I
I don't think so. It doesn't say anything about Disney here.
Oh, maybe I'm misremembering that too. I really thought that this was a Disney production. Poster,
Yeah.
scroll down from Walt Disney Productions. Yeah, okay.
Huh. I'm not seeing that, but okay.
Yeah, if you click on the main poster and expand it out, you'll see.
Oh, I see now. Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah,
The Black Hole.
John Barry.
Looking forward. Do what?
I just saw music composed and conducted by John Barry.
Oh yeah, John Barry. We know him. I know him mostly from Dances with Wolves. Very good score.
Yeah,
and this thing was nominated for 2 Oscars.
Okay.
For Best Cinematography and Best Visual Effects.
Now, I know we'll talk about it next week, but it's at a 5.9 on IMDb. So
yeah, no, it's
this one that we just watched was a 5.5. So I'm hoping that we get a little bit better from this one. But
I don't know. I really, again, I don't remember. All I remember I'll tell you this now, and then as we watch it this week, because we're going to record the episode in a couple days. Here's what I remember. There are 2 flying robots that are kind of sidekicks. There's one robot that's kind of evil and murders people in a pretty gruesome way for a PG movie in 1979. And the destruction of the ship was impressive. That's all I remember.
Okay.
So that's all you get. That's all I can remember from the movie. So looking forward to talking about it next week. In the meantime, please go to our website, cheapseatreviews.libsyn.com. There you'll find links to all of the things that are important to us, as well as go to youtube.com/cheapseatreviews. Leave us or follow us, like us, subscribe, all that good stuff. That'd be great. Been having some issues getting videos up there just because of things, but we'll get some more videos up there soon. But that's it.
Just be a video of me. Just be a video of me twerking. But
yeah, unfortunately, there won't be a video of the last one, right? Because the Zoom cut us off halfway through the episode, so there will be no YouTube episode of Rebel Moon.
Rebel Moon, yeah.
Unfortunately. So well, there won't be one on camera. I mean, I could put a YouTube just a picture of the logo and our voices, but
yeah.
Anyway, that's it. That's gonna do it for us. On behalf of Andrew, and this is my Sean saying thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next week for The Black Hole.
See you later, hot blood.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.